explain.
It's like a milkshake.
Good morning. I was muted. Let's see what we have today. Everyone hear me? Volume all good? We're back on the right date today. Perfect. So today I got some nice little tricks. Gonna be mostly submissions today. Triangles. Some people hate it, some people love it. TC, yeah, exactly. So we're gonna learn everything about triangles. Well, hopefully everything. The main things that people do wrong, and a couple of entries. I think today we'll just do. We only have time probably for setups and preventions, which is the most important part, and then the lockup and the counters we'll do next slice. Red Eskimo showing on the screen. Oh, hopefully we'll fix it then, Steve. So let's go. Here's the main little tree that you gotta think about while you're doing the triangle. And I always forget my drawing tool. Here we go. So triangle setup, the stack prevention and the posture prevention. If you got these two really well known, then the lockup becomes easy. The problem is we always skip to this, and that's where it all goes wrong. Unless you know the proper technique to do it for. So we start with setups. I didn't want to spend too much time on the setups, so I just put a lot of basic setups. I might do a setup lesson next time, but there's a few good ones here. One of my favorite ones is the clamp guard entry, which is this one. This is from close guard or half guard as well. Can happen from half guard, and it relies on you getting into this position here. That's what we call clamp guard. Okay, so if this leg was in half guard, all you have to do is pull the leg out, and you'll be in this position as well. Okay, It relies on you dominating this arm here, or isolating it, sorry. So the person has to have an underhook on you for you to be able to do this. Okay, from close guard is a bit easier to get, but from half guard it's pretty easy as well, if you know the setups. Right? So this is our first entry. It's called clamp guard because we've got this little clamp over here, and you can see it's almost like a triangle already. Okay, this is your biggest fight here. The person knows a triangle is coming. They're gonna try to step over this leg, push it down, do whatever they can to prevent the lockdown, the lockup. So the most common one is they'll hug your thigh or grab onto the material of the trousers here and not let you take your foot out. So this is where we grab all the fingers, we smudge, and then we slide it up so we can lock it up. Okay? I'll talk about the rest in a bit, but this is the standard setup again. So in this case, we're in close guard. I'm blocking the bicep there. I'm doing a big shrimp so I can get to my clamp guard, scrape the fingers, go around, and then we can work on our lockup after. This is our first entry. So another entry from close guard is the hip bump entry. This one, I kind of liked it when I was like a blue purple belt, but I've never used it again. But it can be very good. So here we're gonna set up a hip bump like we normally do, okay, where we stuff their head, and then as the person pushes up to posture, we come up with them. And now a lot of times you go over the hip bump and the person base is really wide. This is where we usually go for kimuras, but another attack that you can go for is a triangle. So I'm gonna handstand so I can lift my hips up, take the leg out, and shoot in for a triangle. It's a very cool entry, and you can be quite successful with it as well. There's a lot of different little entries that you can do for. You can do some arm bars, you can do some guillotines as well. So even if it doesn't work, you got some other attacks there. Morning, Ginger. We're on your specialty triangles today. So that's our hip bump entry. I'll show it one more time. Stuff the head. When they come up to posture, you come up with them. Throw your hips into them. If they base, take your leg out and triangle them. Alright. So now we're going into a bit more open guard scenarios, and our next most popular one is the collar and sleeve setup for gi, which basically is anytime you have collar and sleeve guard, you're gonna go into the stance where you have one foot on the bicep, and there's no secret to this one. You're pulling as hard as you can with both grips. Hope that your opponent's posture breaks so you can shoot in for your triangle. Okay? Most of the time, this can be quite difficult to pull off, but you can end up with an omoplata, or at least, omoplata at least, or a triangle, or even a threat. So we've done clamp guard entry, hip bump, which are closed guard entries. This is our first open guard. And then spider guard entries, these are the most traditional ones. I think this is the standard one from a kneeling opponent, where we just shoot in 4 legs, okay? Probably the worst one out of all of them, because you're literally just shooting your legs through as you can, okay? But this just shows you a little bit about where your legs need to be for a triangle to be pulled off. And then we get into the little bit more advanced one, the slip and the stomp. These are your main 2 tools, I'd say. So you got your spider guard. The first one is the slip, which is you're attempting some form of sweep from the spider guard or whatever, okay? Your opponent's still on their knees. They could be standing as well, but I'd say it's harder to pull off this triangle setup if they're standing. And the slip basically means you're gonna let this foot slide off the bicep and you end up with a triangle, okay? The main thing here is that when you're playing the spider guard, this arm here is on the inside of like your hips, okay? Because you can play spider guard basically with the arm out and with the arm in. So you need to realize which arm is in and which arms aren't, so you can shoot for triangles. Okay, that's our slip setup. Nothing special. Again. And then we got the stomp, okay, which is these two work great together. It really puts the person off your attack. Okay, so basically we're in the same position as our little slips setup, but instead of just sliding this leg through, this time we're gonna stomp our foot down and we're gonna get the other one to slide through. It's gonna look like this. That's the stomp, that's the triangle. Okay, this I'd say is probably the most underused one, but it's really good. And like I said, it can put people off because when you go to here, they always expect either the sweep to this side or a triangle to this side. Because you're changing directions completely, they often like forget about it, okay? The main issue with all of these setup is we have no posture control for any of these moves, right? So it's very easy for your partner to just posture up as much as they can. To avoid that, you see this little curl that I'm doing with my legs. I'm always pushing down with my heel. But again, against someone strong, they might still be able to posture straight up, which then you need to realize that you lost the triangle, and you can sometimes switch this hand to the collar to try to save the triangle or at least get on a platter out of it. But just keep that in mind when you're doing these setups. Right, any questions so far? Any of these setups you want to see again? Before we move on? You doing your research?
Yeah.
Kiwi's here today.
Hi, Wildcats.
I can't hear you.
Why not?
She said hi, Wildcats.
I saw High School Musical.
From where?
I watched High School Musical.
Alright, moving on. What's the kid?
I don't know.
He's arguing with the Nintendo. Alright, next up is the preventions. So this is the bit that we get screwed on when we're doing a triangle. These are the reason why I hated triangles for a long time. And it's all the, basically it's the counters for the person on top, okay? The first one is the stacks. These two are very popular. And just the, I'll save that for later. But here's the stacks, okay? So I'm just doing a standard setup here. Don't worry about it. You can do any setup. But you find yourself in a triangle, okay? There's two types of stacks that you've got to be aware of. One is called the big boy stack, which is towards this side, okay, which is the side that their arm is out. But there's also a stack towards this side, which is a bit more technical, harder to pull off as well. This one's way more common, okay? There's good things and bad things about both of the stacks, right? This one, you kind of go into the choke a little bit, so you might choke yourself out while you're doing the stack. But if you know how to position everything correctly, you should be good. So with this one, the main thing is anytime they're going to stack you, they're gonna bring their arm over the top, reach for your collar, okay, or reach for your head. They'll do something with their arms, okay. That's your biggest like indicator that you're gonna be stacked, okay, and them standing up, putting pressure on you. So if you see this arm swinging around towards your head, you've got to block it. So that's me blocking there, okay. Now I like to use this as support, but you don't have to, just to prevent the person from stacking you any further. And with these two tools here, you should be able to not get stacked towards this direction, okay. That's Kirstein's half-hearted attempt of stacking me, but they'll probably try to stack you for a bit longer. You'd be like walking in a bit of a circle, like everything will rotate a little bit until they give up trying to stack you, okay. That's the big boy stack. This is what it looks like. We'll do the proper counter lesson later. This is the stack over here. So here you lock up the triangle and the person just does this to you, and you must have felt it like loads of time. And they don't do it as nice as me. They literally like blast through as hard as they can, and they end up in side control. Has happened to everyone, I think. So to prevent that, again, lotus their arm and you should be good. Okay. This is the more complicated stack, the front side stack, but it follows pretty much the same rule. Okay. The arm is gonna come in at some point. I'll quickly show you the stack again. This one. Nope. This one. So this one, you usually have to, the person usually has to bring their hand across your throat here, and they're gonna rotate and try to bend you in half, okay, and that will force you to break your legs open. It's the awkward side for you to lock up, and it's probably the worst, the more technical kind of counter there is, okay. So you walk to the side, you bend them in half, and then usually you end up offering them on a platter or something, or they give up the position. And we call that the front side stack, I think. So here Kirstein's gonna start stacking me, and again, the biggest fight here is that hand again, okay. That's gonna come across my throat or my shoulder or even my head, and we just need to swim our arm through. So focus on this arm here, and you'll see me swimming, and now she can't stack anymore. Okay, so these two together are your main kind of technical approach towards the stacks. First one is an arm swim, and the second one is a block like this. You might have to shoulder walk as well if the person's stacking you too hard, okay, so it doesn't hurt your spine. But follow these two and you should be safe in most cases. Alright, counter front side stack. How do you prevent yourself from being off balanced? Oh, that's a good question. Where is it? Strong side. This one. When we do the proper counter lesson, I'll talk in detail about it. But the main thing is, for this one to work, I kind of did it a little bit bad as well. You want to have one of your knees, which is this knee here, directly behind the person staying up, so that you keep their hips in place, okay? And this knee, you can do quite a few things. You can be at this sort of angle, or you can actually go, which is the nasty one, right onto their head or face, like your shin bone, or onto their hip bone as well. But this one, you actually don't get rolled over as easily because you have this arm as base. Okay, so you're here. The only way they can actually roll you is over the head, but that's only if you go way too high. So as a rule, just kind of have your head over theirs. I know my head isn't over hers, but it should be in most cases, and you should be okay. See, when I bring my head over hers, that's when he breaks her legs. But this one, the big boy stack, this people get swept a bit with a bit more, okay? Because they're quickly running to the side. So, and this arm is stuck, so they have no base towards that direction. But again, there's always little details that will keep you safe from being rolled. If you're getting rolled, it's usually because you're leaning your head too much to one side. If you just keep your head over theirs, that should be a good rule for you to follow. So we know how to deal against the stacks, and we know how to do against the well, just the stacks for now. The next little slice, okay, is the triangle rotation, which means, so we dealt with 2 counters so far, which are mostly stacks, right? There's a third type of counter, which is they do something that makes a triangle looser, okay? In this case, this is an emergency escape. Ginger likes this one. Apparently it doesn't work. You grab the knee with both hands and you pull it down, and then you start arching your neck to break the triangle or make some form of space. Alright? So if I stay in the middle, and this could be fully locked up as well, it doesn't have to be now. If I stay in the middle while the person does this, it's gonna hurt my knee or my foot, and it's gonna force me to open up. Okay? So when you realize someone is doing this counter, we've got to rotate with them, which is gonna look like this, so that it doesn't hurt our knee, and we can lock it up again. Okay? This counter is very common, so you've got to learn something to do with it. Okay? And this, I'd say, is the easiest way to do with it. Okay? Some people like arm barring this arm here when they grab this. Some people like to grab this, pull it off, and try arm bar them. You can do that, but I find it's just harder. They can start stacking you again. So I'll just stick to this version, I'd say. Okay? And all I'm doing here is I have to unlock my legs to do this. So if you're fully locked, when you realize they're doing this, you loosen up, and I'm just sliding this little bit of my knee about to there. Now rotate the whole triangle, and you'll be able to lock it up again, and you'll be really powerful. Okay, there was one more. Where is it? Which I think I lost. Is it this one? No, never mind. I'll show it to you guys on Friday. So we know how to do with 2 stacks. We know how to do with this emergency counter. Okay, there's a lot of counters that I didn't come across, that I didn't show you guys, but these are the main 2. I'd say at the beginning you should be aware of in every single scenario. Okay. There's another important one which I can't find for some reason, but I'll mention it next lesson, which is posture prevention, which is not here. But posture just means when they do this to you, which is this move here. So you get a triangle, but the person's posture is way too high. Okay, so we've got to learn how to deal with that as well. But I'll try to find the video for next lesson. So we did stack, triangle rotation, and now, okay, that we know how to control someone after all of those little slices, we can start thinking about the setup and the lockup scenarios, okay? So here's where you need some fundamental kind of knowledge about how to choke someone, how to be effective with the triangle. So whenever I say triangle setup, I mean this position here where they have the feet crossed. Okay, so that's the triangle setup. For all of these preventions, we should have been on triangle setup, okay? So for all of these little slices, this is all, you're gonna come across all of these from here. When you deal with all of that, then we move on to the lockup, okay? Unless you're running out of time or the person is doing something wrong, then you can skip everything and go straight to the lockup. So the lockup stage, there's many ways of doing this, okay? But I'm gonna stay with the friendly approach, which is the Gracie's method, but I found it to be really good for beginners and advanced as well. And it shows you all the little points that you've got to think about while you're locking up. That's why I like it, okay? Even though I don't do this, I usually do the fast lockup, which is the John Danaher one. But this gave me the knowledge to be comfortable doing the other one. So you've got your triangle set up, okay, and you're ready to go for your lockup at this point. You've got to know how to control someone while we do so. Okay, so this is the Gracie's way. They're going to start with this kind of wrist control here. They're going to elevate their hips and push the arm across. Okay, this is where it becomes a bit tricky to remember, but they have a nice little like sequence that makes it easy to remember. They call this transition here the hammer grip. So we're going to go to hammer and head control on the back of the neck. So that's the hammer grip and head. Okay. Now, these two grips are very important. Okay, both of them. That's why I like this approach a little bit better, and I always teach this to the beginners. And if you're advanced, you would realize why it works so well. These two grips, okay, prevent two things. The wrist control prevents all the stacks. Okay, so even if Kirsten tries to like bring this arm across there, she'll choke herself. Okay, she has no base to that side, and she'll make it tighter. She can't stack to this side anymore because I'm controlling that wrist. And then the next little big thing is this hand control here, which is controlling the posture. And that's a huge factor because most people, they will go to grab their shin straight away. And that gives a little escape window for Kirsty to posture up, which happens all the time when I see people trying to do triangles, okay? So stay with the head control, stay with the hammer grip. And now we're going to do the pivoting, which is the hard little bit. Foot's going to go on the hip there. This is going to come across and karate chop, which is going to be this bit. There. So I'm like looking into Kirsten's like ear from this angle. And then this is the final little bit here that makes a big difference as well. When you lock it up, don't just swing this leg over the top and lock it up, because you leave too much space, right? So this is how we usually lock up the triangle, right? We bring this leg here and we kind of like bring our foot towards this side. So you'll be here and then our foot will be dangling in the back over there, right? Try to avoid that from now on. Try to go here and then your foot should be dangling towards this direction instead, which is the direction that your knee doesn't like going, okay? It feels like you're torquing yourself, but it makes the triangle way tighter. So you're there, boom. So it doesn't have to be too much, but you can see my knee is slightly angled that direction instead of this direction. And that means that you can curl your leg down way stronger and you can finish the triangle and it becomes super tight. Just that, right? So again, we get our triangle set up. We fight this arm here any way we can to bring it across. When we do, hammer, head control, foot on the hip, bite the neck, and then lock it up. Dorsiflex both your feet so you become your calves kind of tense up, and that should be you all set. Okay, and if you don't skip all of these details, you should have a near perfect triangle. But like I said, there's so many different versions of the triangle. There's the Ryan Hall approach, there's the John Danaher one, and they skip all of this stuff, and that's the one I do as well. But I'd say if you're a beginner, this will, you get caught less with this. Okay, that will teach you all the mechanics and you can actually feel everything settling. Okay, so this is the lockup. I put this as last because I think these are a bit more important, because if you're getting stacked all the time and if you're getting postured all the time, you won't even have a chance to lock it up. Okay, or you will do, but it's a rubbish lockup, so the person passes anyway. So as long as you're aware of these details, you should be good. The next little slices is just different little options that you can do from a triangle, which is 2 armbar transitions that I think everyone should know. They're both good. There's just, don't know how to explain it, but there's always just the right time to go for them, and you can always feel it. The armbar transition here basically is anytime you've got a triangle and you see this arm dangling about, or they're kind of falling over to the side, and you just see that straight perfect arm, just throw that leg over. And it's probably one of the tightest arm bars, I'd say, you can think of, is this triangle arm bar. But don't just, like I said, right, there's a perfect time to do this, and you can just feel it. You'll see the arm there, you see them falling backwards or something, and you can see a triangle coming in. Dead orchid difference from regular, yes, a bit different. So dead orchid, you have both of the arms inside, if you can imagine that. So you'll be an actual close guard. You go to rubber guard, and then you push this arm across. If you imagine that her arm was still in, you'll be across this. So you literally have 2 arms in an X mark like this, while you've got a fully triangled lockup, which you can see takes quite a setup to be able to do this. It's quite difficult. But if you're good at rubber guard, it's perfect. Got it? I I will do a rubber guard. A rubber guard would be quite a good lesson to do. So I might do a rubber guard next week for you guys. It's quite a fun lesson to kind of do as well. So that was the armbar transition from the knees. Yeah. And then the standing armbar, this is another very important one to kind of come across. You feel your partner standing from a triangle setup scenario, okay? If you've already got it fully locked up, then you should be all good, okay? Just keep the triangle. But if you're in this triangle setup scenario, you're running out of time if they're standing all the way. But often they'll stand in a very bad kind of stance, and you can quickly switch to an armbar, okay, which is this. You can use an underhook to help you. You can use don't have to, but just remember that's available there, okay? Especially if they're just trying to pull their arm out or something strange, okay? If they are standing, you will see from our counter, we only stand, okay, to try to put our knee in the middle to try to pull out effectively, okay? But we never leave our arm open like this, okay? Your arm should be safe across the hip. Again, we'll learn it in the counters, but just look at the person's stance and you can see they're doing something wrong. Don't hesitate. They're standing in the wrong way, so be ready to do this armbar. They are standing, so expect that they're gonna stack you when you do the armbar, okay? So curl your leg down as much as you can. This transition is very important as well, okay? I think them two together is everything you probably need to know for triangles in terms of submissions. There's a few other little key locks and platters, but if you have these two down perfect, they're quite good, okay? So again, to recap everything, triangle setup position, which is when we have our feet crossed. Main thing, everyone's enemy, stack preventions, okay? Posture preventions, and then if we're safe, we do our lockup. And remember all the details for the lockup, okay? You have to practice this when you guys come back properly, because there's so many little feeling based details that you guys need to do from this little slice. But this gives you a general idea. Hammer and head, you can't go wrong with this, okay? These two grips here, they're lifesavers, especially for beginners, so stick to them. Don't be greedy, grabbing your shin, pulling your foot, doing everything wrong just to get a submission, okay? Because you'll teach yourself over and over again to do the wrong thing, then you're just gonna do it naturally. Let's see, for both triangles and arm bars, should you squeeze your hamstrings when it's locked in like a leg curl? You should always be aware of the like pinch, but it's like it depends on your position, but you should generally always be squeezing, not like you're trying to like leg curl 100 kilos or something, but just enough to be comfortable, I'll say. Like you're not cramping your leg because you're squeezing so hard. It's just like a little, if it's wedged in, it's all good. But yeah, the curling of the leg is very important to break the posture. That's about it, okay? Like in all of these little slices, especially the lockup here, right? There's a lot of places where you could be tensing really hard with your legs. Like this, like a lot of people squeeze this really hard and you burn out your legs. Just be relaxed with your feet crossed. And occasionally if the person's trying to posture, you bring your heels down or you lift your hips, whatever. It's always kind of passive. Of course, if someone's being wild, okay, you're going to try to control them a bit more by using your legs a bit more and tensing a bit more. So it really depends on the person's energy levels. If you see as a technical person just trying to position themselves right, then you're gonna kind of like follow that as well. Right, so question time. Let's see if you guys been paying attention. Let me just block the names there. Okay. Do. Alright, let's see, what should I ask first? If we'll start with some easy ones. Okay. I'm trying to find no spoilers. Alright. This is perfect. First question. We've got a triangle in the triangle setup scenario. Okay. Kirsten starts to bring this arm across. What am I meant to do? Or what's a counter? My nose is so itchy. Oh no, is the internet down?
No,
It is.
no, it's not.
My back. Hello, hello. Unless the internet dropped or not. Oh. Yes, block the armor, prevent the big boy stack. Brownie points there. There we go. So this is your biggest enemy, especially in the early levels of Jiu-Jitsu. Everyone does the stack, so remember this one. Next little slice. This one's hard. See if you guys remember. Right. You get your lock up, boom, and you see your opponent grabbing your knee in this scenario here. There's only one thing they're gonna do. So what we meant to do when this happens, what we expecting. Yes, very nice. Okay, I think they call it Roger Gracie escape this one because apparently did it. But yeah, she's about to do a very nasty counter to you. That's gonna hurt your knee if you don't know it. Okay, so when she does, we unlock, we rotate, we lock it up. Beautiful. Nice. I think the rest is just entries, so there's no questions for those. So I'll show you guys the entries again. So we got clamp guard entry, nice little friendly one. But again, you guys can look up any entries you like. Hip bump entry, another good one. These are just options, but you can come up with like a million different ones. Collar and sleeve setup, spider, you guys get the jizz. But now, slip and stomp. Last question's gonna be, Actually, this is gonna. I won't use a video for this one. So, in theory, right, you've just got yourself a triangle. You haven't fully locked it up. So, what's the biggest two threats after you've got your triangle? What should you look for as the... Yeah, what should you look for? It's a hard one. Yes, posturing, and one more. It's the two P's. So it's always stack prevention and posture prevention. Okay, these are the main two. So preventing the stack and preventing the posture. Those are the main two things. So posture and stack. So these two. And then I'll be happy for you guys to lock it up. Got it? Alright guys, that is it for today. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about triangles. When you guys go back to the gym, it'll make a lot more sense to you. You'll see, and even watching people row, right, when they get triangles, you all see this. You all see them getting stacked and losing the triangles. You see them trying to lock up really fast and losing the triangle. It happens to all of us at the start. But be patient with your triangles if you have time. It will save you in the long run as well, and is more friendly towards your spine. Okay. Any questions? Fire them away. On Friday we'll do all the counters to the triangles, so you guys don't get caught in them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And next week I think I'll do rubber guard. Cool. Alright. Hope everyone has a lovely week. Unfortunately, no new news from Caesar yet, so I don't know. No new information. Joey, you got any news?
No.
Joey has no news as well.
We're moving.
Oh yes, we are moving. We're restoring Kirstein's old house, and it's been a nightmare because we don't know how to do anything. We're trying to move. Her old house has like 3 layers of wallpapers, and we got this machine to like steam it so we can get rid of it, but it is a nightmare. But yeah, if you guys got any wallpaper get rid of tips, let me know.
If you know builders.
If you also know builders in London, we need some.
North London.
Look at Steve and Ginger getting along. Ah. First time. Okay, guys, I'm off. We've got to go back to stripping newspapers.